Welcome to the Connection Point End Times Briefing. Today's date is May 13th, 2020. Thank you for tuning in today's update. Let me start out because many are wondering what happened to a video that we had posted the other week, and then YouTube took the video down because it, quote-unquote, violated the terms and condition in their philosophy. At first, it frustrated me when they did take it down, and we've had other videos being taken down by YouTube in the past as well. And I immediately thought it was censorship and how they're trying to silence us. And to some degree it is. But then the more I thought about it, the more I came to understand, well, YouTube has every right to do what they did. Let me explain. YouTube is a free platform for content creators. We get to use their platform, their website. They own it. They have terms and conditions that you agree to when you sign up. So when you post something that goes against it or that is in conflict with their terms and conditions and their agenda and their policy, they can and they will remove your video. It's that simple. Now, no matter how good your video is or the truth and the facts that you're sharing, it doesn't matter to them. Okay, again, they have a globalist philosophy and theology, and they have an agenda as well, and anything that goes against it, it will get removed, or something that's in conflict with what they want to be posted up there. And there's crazy stuff that does get posted out there, but for the most part, they allow a lot of stuff to happen. So if they choose to take down a controversial video, just understand they can and they have the right to do that. If we don't like that idea as a content creator, then you need to find another platform to post and do your videos. It's that simple. So I hope that brings some sort of clarity and understanding to what went on with that particular video and other videos in the past. And I know there's a lot of other ministries and pastors that have the same thing that happened to them as well. Anyways, let's get on with today's briefing. As we mentioned before, we are seeing the escalation of the events of the world concerning end time and the signs of the times. And we mentioned there's many, several main subjects to consider, kind of like the filter grid. From Matthew 24, 2 Timothy 3, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, Romans 1, etc. have some basic understanding that fits in this filter grid. You have the earth and the sky, where you have the earthquakes and hurricanes and other natural disasters. And within this, you'd also throw in the famines and pestilences and diseases and all that sort of stuff within this. And everything by all those numbers and issues and situations are escalating like never before. The amount of earthquakes that's really happening, that what we call the ring of fire, the magnitude of them, frequency, the intensity, earthquakes in various places, all the different natural disasters that are going on all over the world, the famines, the pestilences, what we're experiencing right now in this it's not a pandemic, but the COVID-19, the diseases that are so rapidly going on throughout the world. Another filter grid is that on the moral issue and really dealing with the immorality that's going on globally. Not just one nation, but all nations are experiencing this. The lawlessness, the whole LGBT plus community movement, and just all the corruption that goes with that, the diseases that even go with that, the immorality that goes with that. Another part of the filter grid is the religion, the apostasy. So many people falling away, walking away from the Lord, the deception that's crept in, and people are being so deceived so easily. And there's also the persecution that's being developed. And another thing that we'll kind of touch on a little bit later is that of the one world religion. Another part of the filter grid is the technology, from the internet to missiles to cyber terrorism, the cashless society, which is being so quickly enforced right now. You have these drones and robots and facial recognition to keep tabs and watching people. The whole ID 2020 chip that's being developed as we speak to be implemented with the vaccination that they want to put in every person on the face of the earth. And then you have the nations, or the wars and rumors of wars, kingdoms against kingdoms, all these different government policies, bankruptcy, the economic collapse, and also the number one issue in dealing with the nations is that of Israel. That's the number one country to focus on and to look at when it comes to end times. And just as important it is to tell the time of day so you know what you need to be doing, so we need to know the time that we are living in human history so we can live our lives accordingly. Now, all the things that have been going on currently as we speak with this COVID-19 pandemic that's going on globally, it's really was an opportunity to set up a global government, a one world government, a new world order. And this is part of the ID 2020 and the what we talked about a couple years ago in 2015, I believe, was the Agenda 2030 by the UN. And you see these things just kind of uniquely come together, working together to try to achieve that goal, which is not a good goal, but from a globalist perspective, they love it. They're all in on this. So the health and economic and globalist effects of this whole COVID-19 have moved us into this new era, if you will, period of time from the end-time events, the chronology of how things are quickly falling into place. We are so close to the getting to the tribulation period. But before that happens, again, the church will be raptured out of here. There's some that have difference of opinion when the church will be out of here, but from a biblical perspective, from the typologies and all the other components, it makes more sense for the church to be raptured before the tribulation period than the church actually going through the tribulation period. Anyways, an aside thought. When the globalists are putting all these things in place, exactly what we're seeing happening, the control, the fear that's being pushed through the media, where there's fake news that puts the false information in people's heads and minds. And you're already seeing how people are responding to it. And of course, you see some people that see right through it and they kind of rebel against it. But overall, what is happening is this whole setting up of the global government. All these countries are working together from the Agenda 2030. That was part of this UN manifesto that was developed back in 2015. The radical plans that were being developed then are now kind of coming into place here. The whole ID 2020 being developed by none other than Bill Gates, who is a computer entrepreneur who's been heavily involved in the whole UN and the World Health Organization. And then you combine all this with the development of this patent cryptocurrency system using body activity data. So it's basically this eventual cashless financial system connected to individuals. So it's the combining of the World Health Organization, the ID 2020, all these things converging together. And the bottom line is, it's going to be all part of that global system, all part of the global government, the Antichrist ruling. And these are all tools at his disposal. And so we see just how everything's coming so close to seeing this global government being implemented, being put in place, the New World Order happening. We're almost there. And it's exciting to see from a biblical perspective. But again, don't be deceived, fellow brothers and sisters out there. Again, all these things must come to pass. Keep your hope and your eyes on the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, again, we don't know who the Antichrist is or the false prophet, which, again, he's going to be developing this one world religion, which leads me to another article that was talking about how on May 14th, the World Chrislam Day, as Pope Francis issues call for all religions to pray to their gods and massive global effort to end COVID-19. So he's pushing this agenda. The UN Secretary General supports this as well, so you can see the convergence of both of those guys working together. But it's interesting on this particular day, which is it's no coincidence that it was the same day when the nation of Israel was regathering together and became a nation again. So it's no coincidence on this particular day that this is happening and developing. And so the one world religion is getting closer and closer to being developed and implemented by this false prophet, which could be this current pope or his successor. But just having this idea of Chrislam, the joining in, it's really of Catholicism, because Christians would not be joining together with other religions because all other religions are false. But Catholicism, led by the Pope, and Islam together, which we've seen over the last several years, and especially even decades, how the popes have been working together with Islam together, signing treaties together and things like that. But you're seeing we're getting closer and closer to this one world religion, joined, which would have to be probably by Islam and Catholicism. Those have the two most numbers behind it, so you can see it would implement quite easily, giving the influence both of those religions. And then finally, just an interesting report from what was taking place in New York, and how there's some that are just very antagonistic toward Christianity, and so you can see some anti-Christian and persecution to some degree on this, when you can see a service was given, and a real help and real blessing. No other agenda was behind it. But you can see how some within government and their response through this. And it was the idea of Samaritan's Purse gets a tax bill after discharging last patient in the New York City field office. So the governor, Andrew Cuomo, was asking Samaritan's Purse to pay a state tax after the Christian humanitarian organization discharged its patient last week. So one over the 300 mark of the COVID-19 patients treated its temporary hospital in New York City Central Park was facing a backlash due to its statement of faith. Cuomo said, we're not in a position to provide any subsidies right now because we have a $13 billion deficit, he said in a Fox News report. According to New York state law, anyone working inside the state for more than 14 days has to pay income tax. But organizations and healthcare workers came to the state to help fight the COVID outbreak at the epicenter after an appeal by state government seeking assistance. So there's a lot of things that he'd like to do, the governor goes on to say. If we get federal funding, we can do, but if it's irresponsible for him to be looking at $13 billion deficits, he's going to spend more money, can't even pay the essential services. The Samaritan's Purse is a 68-bed facility, treated 315 patients since the opening on April 1st, which was adjacent to the Mount Sinai Hospital in Central Park's East Meadow, to help meet the needs of the local hospitals that were facing an unprecedented wave of sick patients. While Franklin Graham, who heads Samaritan's Purse, hasn't responded directly to Cuomo's statement, he has said that this group was invited by New York City by Mount Sinai. They're the ones who called them, to come and help. So they agreed to go, and they haven't charged them one penny. All the services have been provided by the Lord. And so the temporary hospital was being erected. The financial controller of Samaritan's Purse had warned the group about the state requirements for taxes. So even we were more concerned about the money that is bureaucracy and paperwork. I think that it was unleashed. And once you start filling that out, you have to do that for a whole year or something. said the vice president of the organization. So after the last patient of the field hospital was discharged, Franklin Graham wrote on Facebook, says, "We have a world-class medical care showing them God's love and compassion. We want each of them to know the hope that we have in Jesus Christ." He continued, "We'll be taking hospital tents down at the coming days, but leaving some staff behind to help at other locations within the Mount Sinai health system. The people at Mount Sinai have been absolutely great to work with, and we appreciate their support and partnership in this effort to save lives." At the White House National Day of Prayer service on Thursday, Brittany Alskelman, a nurse and a pastor who's been volunteering at the Samaritan's Purse Field Hospital, thanked the group for inviting her for an opportunity to serve. And she goes on to say that, "I'll tell you that just to be able to combine both my skills in nursing and gifting of pastor in such a time in our nation to serve the people of New York City was truly one of the greatest honors of my life." And she quoted Galatians 6:9, which reads, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for in the proper time we'll reap harvest if we do not give up." And then, here's the backlash. According to New York City Council Speaker Corey Johnson, who had recently demanded that the Christian charity lead the city over its biblical views on homosexuality. So here's his agenda. So it is time for the Samaritan's Purse to leave New York City. This group, led by the notorious bigoted, hate-spewing Franklin Graham, which isn't true, it's just his viewpoint on it because he doesn't agree with homosexuality, came to a time in our city couldn't in good conscience turn away any offer to help. "The time has passed," he wrote in a Twitter last Saturday. "Their continued presence here is an affront to our values of inclusion, and it is painful for all New Yorkers who care deeply about the LGBT community." The openly gay speaker said that while he was aware of the coronavirus battle was still far from over, and the healthcare system still needed ongoing support, he goes on to say, "We cannot continue to allow a group with their track record to remain here when we're way past their point of need. Mount Sinai must sever its relationship with Samaritan's Purse." He said its leader calls the LGBT community detestable and immoral, and he says being gay is an affront to God and refers to gay Christians as the enemy, which he does not. On Friday, Christian clergy from New York City came out to support and praise Samaritan's Purse. They go on to say that with grateful hearts, we, the clergy and the spiritual leaders of New York City, are forever indebted to Samaritan's Purse for coming to New York City, one of the most desperate times in need, the COVID-19 pandemic. Christian workers belong to the various denominations from all 5 of the New York City boroughs, said in a statement. They thanked and blessed the great self-sacrificing, non-discriminatory, and tireless work of Samaritan's Purse and pray God's continued blessing on the work there in New York City and globally. Many, including comedian Jimmy Fallon, had offers of support and expressed thanks for the work of Samaritan's Purse. And here's the thing. Samaritan's Purse and Franklin Graham have continued to make a huge difference and impact for the gospel everywhere they go. They're always respectful no matter who you are, whether race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, etc. They will always help in whatever crisis, disaster, or situation that is happening as they are led by the Lord. They serve with kindness. They don't compromise the gospel or biblical values. They share the love and grace of God like we're all called to do. So may the Lord just continue to bless them, provide for them, protect them, and use them in a powerful way. And I would encourage you to pray for them and even support them if the Lord leads you to. Now, as we are looking to reopen so many things in society in the next couple of weeks, from churches to schools and businesses, do be wise, be careful, and proceed with caution with all that's going on. Don't be rushing into things. We just need to be very careful and cautious while things are still sensitive in what's going on. So continue to keep and stay grounded in God's Word. Keep trusting in the Lord. Amen. Until next time, God bless.